Welcome back to my channel, everyone. 3 tips here. And the hydrogen peroxide experiment worked so well on the powdered gold that now I want to try it on some inquarted gold. There's some 14K scrap gold that I have here. Looks like we've got 24.3 grams. Zero the scale out. Here I've got some 10 karat scrap gold pieces. And the weight on that is 18.4 grams. I've multiplied both numbers by their constants. 14K, the constant is 1.265. 10K, the constant is 0.635. Come up with this amount of silver needed to inquart. Here's the total. So I need 42.3 grams of sterling silver to inquart this gold properly. I've measured out 42.2 grams of scrap silver. Now let's go out to the melt table and melt these up and inquart this gold. Here we go. Trying to get all the silver and base metals pulled out of our gold before we go to the hydrochloric acid. It's hot nitric acid. There's silver in here. It's going to react fairly vigorously and dissolve this silver as I pour it in. I think I've got the base metals and silver pulled out of here now. You can tell because that solution is nice and clear. The liquid is colorless and clear like water. That's what we want to see. That means all the base metals and silver have been removed. I'm just going to dump it off into this silver jar here. Now we're going to put it back up on the heat and boil it with a little bit of distilled water here. Let's trade out the hot plate for the stir plate. Starting to bump a little bit here, so I'm going to put a stir bar in and start the stirring. The gold has been boiling in water now for about 10 minutes. And what we'll do is pour this off into our silver jar over here, and with hydrochloric acid. All right, let's go ahead and start adding our hydrogen peroxide, 3% from the dollar store. And the point of this experiment is if I can get this gold to dissolve without having to use any nitric acid and just use 65 cents worth of hydrogen peroxide, that'll save me money from having to buy expensive nitric acid to dissolve my gold. Piece of filter paper down into our solution. Now I'm going to test it with stannous chloride. Boom. Dark stain. Gold in solution. This reaction takes quite a lot of heat. Whoa, there we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Wow, this is really working fantastical. I've used a 2/3 of a bottle so far of the hydrogen peroxide. Now what we're going to do is pour this solution off into this beaker. That's our gold bearing solution right there. Got about half of that gold in solution. I'm going to add some more hydrochloric acid here. About 200 milliliter level. Took about 5 minutes to get it to boil, and now we're going to add some more doses of our hydrogen peroxide. Here we go. I'm going to put the first dose in right now. See, it turns a darker yellow as the reagents react with the gold in the beaker. I'm going to put another dose in. Here we go. Boom. I'm going to add another dose, and then what we'll do is I'll put it on time lapse, and we'll just empty the rest of this bottle into the beaker and see if we get the rest of that gold to dissolve. This is progressing much better than I expected. I probably got about 70 or 80% of the gold dissolved. Now I'm going to pour this off. I used up that other entire bottle of hydrogen peroxide, and then I'm going to add some more hydrochloric acid. Stick it back up on the stir plate. I've run out of the 3% dollar store peroxide, so now I'm switching over to 12% from Sally's Beauty Supply. It's way more potent, as you can see. Just a couple drops starts immediately putting gold in solution. And here I'm going to add a dose from the beaker, but I almost have a boil over. Adding too much right there. So what I'm going to have to do is add just tiny amounts by dribbling it in out of the beaker. All right, I'm going to add one more quick dose here. Just a little bit at a time. See if we can get the rest of this gold dissolved. I'm going to go on time lapse and see if I can get the rest of it to go into solution. I've got just a few pieces left down in the bottom of the beaker. What I've been doing is adding doses of hydrogen peroxide, the 12% stuff, and just trying to get the last little bit to go into solution. I'm going to have to filter this solution, and before I go any further, I'm going to add a few milliliters, about 1.5 milliliters of sulfuric acid to precipitate out any lead that may be present. Let's transfer the solution now over to this main beaker. I'm really excited about this. This is working out very nice. A little bit of hydrochloric acid. I'm going to start shooting some doses of the 12% hydrogen peroxide in here now. There's a little bit of gold left here, and it is going into solution. As I put the hydrogen peroxide in, you can tell. because the solution's getting darker. It's the following day, and what I'm going to do here is I've got just a little bit of gold left in here. I'm just going to add this liquid to our main batch here. And here's what we've got left down in the bottom of the beaker. Now let's transfer our gold-bearing solution up into a clean beaker up here. Notice how clear it is. Now let's precipitate the gold with some sodium metabisulfite. Here we go. While we're waiting for this to settle out, let's come over here and have a quick look at the silver cell, which is looking pretty good here. I think this has been in here about 8 days. And look at those trees growing in there, man. That's just fantastic looking. Silver cell's been operating beautifully ever since we changed all those connections. The gold is settled completely. Now what we'll do is pour this solution off into a waste container. Here's a look at the gold. What I'm going to do now is add some hydrochloric acid, and we're going to put it up on some heat and let this boil for just a few minutes up on the heat. It's been boiling for about 5 minutes now. What we're going to do is pour this solution off into our waste container. Rinse it a couple times with some distilled water. Now we're going to rinse the gold down into this nice cylinder here. This is a gas bubbler. using hydrochloric acid to rinse it down in there. Filling it up with some hydrochloric acid about halfway to the top. What I have here is a chlorine gas generator. I've got an addition funnel up here that's vented to the flask. I've got a sidearm flask that's full of crushed up swimming pool tablets. This variety right here. And we've got a tube coming off the flask and going to our bubbling device. Down here, we've got our gold and hydrochloric acid. I'm going to reach back here now and start a drip of acid down into the crushed up chlorine tablets. There we go. Just want a little bit of drip going on down there. That's a pretty good flow rate right there. And what we want to try to do here is dissolve our gold with the chlorine gas. This is about a half hour into the reaction. I ran out of hydrochloric acid, so I got to recharge that funnel. I had to remove the bubbler from the delivery tube there because it was trying to suck the gold solution back up into my setup here. Let me see if I can get this off of here and recharge this flask or this delivery funnel with some more hydrochloric acid. All right. Now we'll add a little bit more fresh acid to the reaction here. About 50 milliliters or so. All right, I'm going to reinstall the gas delivery tube to my bubbler. We're almost there. If you look down in there, there's just a little bit of gold powder left that needs to be dissolved. There's just a couple of little bitty crumbs left in there. I sat here and watched that reaction the entire time. Completely mesmerized. That was a cool reaction. And what I'm going to try to do now, I still got plenty of gas going up here. I'm going to take this out, take my gas generator out, the tube anyway, and rinse it off. And what I want to do is try to I want to get this, all right, let me see out of here, pull this off. I just want to get this solution out of this bubbler tube here. This is absolutely beautiful chloroauric acid solution. Oh my goodness. That was fun. That one was a lot funner than the hydrogen peroxide. All right, let's get this back up here. I'm gonna set this. This is our gold bearing solution right here. Look at how clear that is, man. That's just gorgeous. What I want to try to do now is I'm going to try to get the remnants from the hydrogen peroxide attempt that are in this beaker. And while I got some chlorine gas still flowing, let's get this down in there and see if we can get those crumbs to dissolve with the chlorine gas. And now we'll add that to our column in here. That should do it. We're going to put the gas generator back into the bubbler here carefully. Turn the stir bar back on. Let's see if we can get the rest of that gold in there to go in solution now. I've exhausted all of the chlorine tablets in my gas generator. I'm only getting a few bubbles now coming out. As you can see, I've got hydrochloric acid still going in, but I've got just a few bubbles coming out. So I'm gonna pull this apart now. And about 50% of that gold that wouldn't dissolve in the hydrogen peroxide, about 50% of it dissolved in this chlorine bubbler. So the chlorine bubbler is very effective at dissolving gold. Let me get this bubbler tube out of my apparatus here. And I just got a clean flask over here that I stick it in temporarily to keep it safe. I'm going to turn off the acid flow. I've exhausted the reagent that produces the gas from our gas generator. So what we're going to do now is shut it down. I'm going to pull the tube out of here carefully, rinse it off. It's going to have gold on it. We'll set it over in this flask temporarily out of the way. I must say that this produces a very clean solution. As you can see there's no cloudiness in it. I may have just a little bit of a few particles left of gold. That's quite all right. We'll filter that all out of there. I'm adding a shot of sulfuric acid just to make sure we get any lead that may be present precipitated out of there. What I've got is a addition funnel full of sulfuric acid, sodium metabisulfite down in our flask, and that's going and bubbling through a bottle of sulfuric acid to clean it out, cool it off, and then the outlet pipe here goes down and will bubble the sulfur dioxide gas into our gold solution. Here we go. We're going to start dripping some sulfuric acid down into the SMB now. Bubbling the gas makes a much cleaner precipitation, or rather than adding the chemical directly into the solution there. Bubbling the gas will produce a nice clean precipitate. It's been running out for about 1.5 minutes. We should have all the air pushed through the system, and we should be getting some SO2 gas down in that solution now. This is about 2.5 minutes into the reaction. And I forgot, this reaction likes a dilute solution, so I'm going to add a little bit of water here to dilute our chloroauric acid solution. Starting to see a little bit of a color change. It's going from orange to a pale yellow color, and that tells me We're getting ready to flash over. There it goes to a pale yellow, pale yellow. It'll turn almost white, and then it'll turn into chocolate milk, just like that. Here we go. It's getting ready to happen. This is about 5 minutes into the reaction. There it goes. Oh yeah, look at that gold fluffing up down there, man. That just looks awesome. Looks like a snow flurry of gold. See that? Just beautiful. It's been bubbling out for about 7 or 8 minutes. Get a little bit of solution on here. Let's do a status test. Make sure we've got all our gold precipitated out. I don't see any reaction there. Safe to conclude that all of the gold is precipitated. I think that's the fastest I've ever seen gold settle out. Less than 10 minutes and it's almost settled completely. Here's a look at the pure gold sponge. It's absolutely stunning. I wish you could see it in person. This is going to be some very high purity gold. Now what we'll do is pour off this waste solution and get our gold out of here. Look at this gold, man. This stuff looks absolutely amazing. Pure gold sponge like I've never seen before. Just absolutely gorgeous. It's got a very reddish tint to it. I'm giving it a few rinses with some distilled water. I've got to say, if you're wanting high purity gold, then bubbling the gas is definitely the way to go. It's probably not even necessary. What I'm going to do is put it up on a stir plate, add a little bit of hydrochloric acid, and we're going to give this a boil in some hydrochloric acid. I can't describe to you how beautiful this gold looks. I can actually see some pure gold crystals in the powder. It's just absolutely stunning to look at. I don't know if you can see that or not, but we've got some actual gold crystals in with the gold powder. Just absolutely beautiful. All right, we've been boiling in the acid, or in the distilled water now for about 5 minutes. This is just distilled water now, boiling distilled water. Got it in the right light here. I don't know if you can see those sparkles of pure gold in there. It looks absolutely stunning. The gold is sparkling. Do like I did with the last batch that was high purity like this. Try to sell it on my eBay store. I'm gonna set this on low heat and let it dry off. It's all dried out. It took about 10 minutes. See those sparkles in there? We'll let this cool off, and then we'll go in and get a weight on it. Here's our gold powder. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, like the look of pure gold in this form. It's absolutely beautiful. We've got 422.1 minus 399.7 for the weight of the container. So we got 22.4 grams of high purity gold powder. And we'll offer this for sale on my eBay store. This will conclude the video. Thanks for watching.